We have all been there. You're sitting in a meeting that definitely should have been an email, or, you're staring at a spreadsheet that seems to go on forever, and your brain just checks out.
Hmm.
You start daydreaming. Maybe you're a rock star, maybe you're an explorer, maybe you're just anywhere but here. It's a survival mechanism, right?
It is. But what happens when that daydream, that little escape, stops being momentary and starts, well, eating your actual life?
That is the terrifying premise we're unpacking today.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into a novella called The Harpy's Wings, Крылья Гарпии in the original. And this isn't just a story about a guy who hates his job. It's a psychological thriller about the walls of reality just dissolving.
It's the classic story within a story trope, but my God, Gurevich takes it to such a dark place. We're following two timelines that are on a collision course.
Exactly. You have Mart, just a miserable clerk in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Earl, the dashing hero of the novel Mart is secretly writing.
And our mission here, really, is to trace how those two worlds blur together. Because at its core, this is a brutal metaphor for the cost of creativity and maybe the incompatibility of freedom and domestic life.
It asks a question that's frankly pretty uncomfortable. Can you ever really fly if you also want to have a home?
That is the big question. But to get why Mart is even asking it, we have to look at his reality, and honestly, it's soul-crushing.
He's a clerk, and he has been doing the exact same task
For 9 years.
for 9 years, just recording grain types. Gurevich is so specific here, to really ground us in the boredom. It's not just data entry, it's Hrrrpr wheat and golden rain barley.
He moves figures from the left side of a ledger to the right side. That's his entire world.
It creates this texture of absolute stagnation.
Yeah.
And there's this one scene, and I know you want to talk about this because it's so gross but so brilliant.
The fly.
The fly. It's a defining image of his life. Mart is sitting at his desk, just paralyzed by boredom, and a fly lands on the rim of his inkwell. A normal person might just wave it away.
But not Mart. He pushes it in.
He pushes it in, which is cruel, right? It's his tiny moment of power for a guy who has none.
Absolutely.
But then the fly doesn't die. It crawls out, drenched in this purple ink, and it drags itself across the ledger page, leaving a jagged purple trail right through the entry for Hrrrpr wheat.
And Mart just watches.
He just watches. He doesn't wipe it up because that fly is him.
Yeah.
He is dragging himself through the ink of his life, leaving this messy, meaningless trail on a page that nobody really cares about.
It's this moment of, profound self-recognition. He realizes he's drowning.
Drowning in the trivial. And then he goes home, and if the office is a void, his home is, it's a battleground.
This is where we meet Gerda, his wife.
Gerda is a fascinating character. So she's 29, but the text makes a point of saying she pretends to be 23.
See, my first instinct was to just dislike her. She seems so shallow, always complaining about money, about what they don't have. But the more I read, I don't know, I started to feel sorry for her.
That's the nuance, right? Gurevich forces you to see her side. Gerda isn't a villain. She's terrified of poverty. She looks at Mart and sees a man who is checking out.
She wants a house. She wants a refrigerator. She wants a trumeau. What is that again? A mirror.
It's a specific type of mirror, yeah, a pure glass. But it represents status, stability. She's trying to build a normal life on this foundation of Mart's chaos.
And she's banking on these worthless shares he owns in some Guatemalan silver mine.
Calculating dividends that will never exist.
That's just tragic. She's doing math on a fantasy while Mart is writing a fantasy to escape the math.
Precisely. They're both delusional, just in opposite directions. She wants to anchor down. He wants to float away. And because he can't handle the pressure of the refrigerator and the trumeau, he creates Earl.
Let's talk about Earl. He is the classic pulp hero, right? Wealthy city guy, survives a plane crash.
He's Mart's perfect avatar. But look where he lands. Mart is trapped in a dry, dusty office. Earl gets trapped in a jungle. It's loud, it's wet, it's dangerous. Snakes, slime, vines.
It's alive. It's vibrant. Mart would rather be strangled by a vine than bored by barley.
It's the desire to feel something, anything, even fear. And in this world, Earl meets his savior. He falls from a cliff and he's caught by a harpy.
Herp.
Yes, or Harpy as Earl calls her. And we need to stop and really look at the biology here because Gurevich is doing something very clever. This isn't a magical creature. It's a biological organism.
She has a Greek profile, that straight line from the forehead to the nose and these huge eyes.
Yeah.
But the wings, the text says 8 meters.
8 meters, that is, what, 26 feet?
That's massive. It's a glider.
It'd have to be. Think about the physics of lifting a human body.
Yeah.
You need an immense surface area. They're described as translucent, like mother of pearl. Beautiful, but cumbersome. You can't just tuck an 8-meter wingspan away.
And this biology dictates their entire society. This was the part that really hit me as a social critique. The women have wings and the men don't.
Yeah, a strict sexual dimorphism. The women soar, the men are grounded. And the Harpy explains the psychology of this to Earl. She says the men are angry and violent because, and this is the quote, "it is crowded on the ground."
It is crowded. Wow. Such a simple explanation for war and aggression.
It's resource scarcity versus abundance. The sky is infinite, you can't own it. The ground is finite, so the men fight over it. But the real tragedy is how this impacts their relationships. To find love, the Harpy women have to land.
They have to come down to the crowded place.
And the men, driven by this envy, this need to possess something they can't understand, they tear the wings off.
That's horrific. It's a mutilation.
It's a permanent grounding.
Okay.
And the Harpy explains that the women who survive this become bitter. They get obsessed with ribbons, with makeup, with decoration.
They try to replace the majesty of flight with the triviality of decoration.
And that ties directly back to Gerda, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a one-to-one mapping. Mart looks at Gerda, her obsession with the mirror, lying about her age, and he sees a woman who has lost her wings. He sees domesticity itself as a form of mutilation.
But is that fair to her? Or is Mart just justifying his own detachment?
That's the ambiguity. Maybe Gerda never had wings. Or maybe he's the one who tore them off by neglecting her.
Right. But in the story, Earl is in danger because he's with a winged female. The wingless men sentence him to death.
For stealing her.
For bridging that gap between the ground and the sky. So the Harpy saves him. And this image is so crucial for the ending. She carries him. He's a 70-kilogram deadweight. She is exhausting herself, dragging this heavy, wingless man through the air.
It's the ultimate burden of love. One person flying, the other just dragging them down.
And that dynamic is completely unsustainable. Which brings us to the collision. The moment where Mart's life and Earl's life both just fall apart.
It starts with the firing, and the reason is almost comedic. The poem.
The Mexican in a velvet sombrero.
I laughed out loud at this. He's supposed to be recording wheat yields, and he writes a poem about a sombrero in the ledger.
It's absurd, but it's the intrusion of the romantic into the bureaucratic. The boss finds it, and Mart tries to defend it. He tries to make a stand for poetry in the middle of a grain audit.
And obviously he gets sacked. He goes home probably thinking, well, at least I have Gerda.
But he doesn't. Gerda has found his stash of writing. She calls it waste paper. And you have to see it from her perspective. She realizes he hasn't been working on some scheme to get rich. He's been playing with imaginary friends.
For her, that's a betrayal. She's starving, metaphorically, and he's writing about harpies. So she leaves.
Leaves a note saying he didn't love her enough to settle down properly. She wanted the ground. He refused to land.
And at the exact same time, Earl Mart's hero is acting like a total jerk in the story.
Oh, a complete jerk.
Yeah.
He brings the Harpy back to civilization, and suddenly she's not magical anymore?
She's just awkward.
Exactly. She doesn't know how faucets work. She sleeps on the floor. And those wings. Or the lack of them.
The scars.
The text calls them fleshy growths. Earl looks at where her wings used to be, and he's repulsed. He's embarrassed by her. So he finds Rima Van Fleet.
The anti-Harpy.
The anti-Harpy. She's modern, plays tennis, strokes his ego. She's the Gerda that Earl and Mart thinks he wants. A woman who fits perfectly into the social machine.
So he cheats. The Harpy finds out.
Yeah.
And her reaction is to try and fix it by making fake wings.
This is the most pathetic and poignant moment. She sews wings out of muslin fabric.
She thinks, if I look like I can fly, maybe he'll love me again.
She climbs a tower or a cliff and she jumps. Tries to fly with fabric wings. No, it's a suicide attempt. Born from realizing she can't go back to the sky and she can't survive on the ground.
So both relationships are destroyed. Gerda leaves because Mart won't land. The Harpy dies because Earl forced her to.
And now, the walls come down. This is the bleeding effect. Mart can't accept that ending. He can't write the end. He needs Earl to go find her. But Mart also needs to find Gerda.
And he stops telling them apart.
The starvation is a huge part of it. He stops eating. He's got no money, no job. And physiology kicks in. He feels lightheaded. The wind pushes him around. But in his delirium, he interprets this as flight.
He thinks he's evolving, growing wings.
Or just becoming light enough to join them. He starts projecting the Harpy's traits onto Gerda. He remembers her checker jacket, but in his mind, that pattern becomes the texture of feathers.
And the green sailor. We have to talk about the green sailor. This scene gave me chills.
It's a shift into pure horror. Mart is at the port every night, staring at the ocean, waiting for Gerda Harpy to fly back. and he meets this sailor.
The text says he's wet, like dripping wet.
Yes, and he claims to see a winged woman at twilight. But is he wet because it's raining, or because he came from the sea?
You think he's a ghost?
Or a warning? A previous Mart who tried to fly and failed. The sailor confirms the delusion and then just walks off the pier. He walks right into the water and disappears.
He returns to the deep. That is terrifying. It's like the abyss looking back and saying, "Come on in."
It sets the stage for the finale, the storm.
Let's paint the picture. It's a violent storm, waves smashing over the breakwater. It's chaotic, and Mart is standing there, starving, hallucinating.
He's looking into this gray, swirling mist. And he sees a figure. Now, we, the rational readers, know it's probably just foam and light. But Mart sees a woman.
He sees the fusion.
Exactly. He sees a woman in a wet checkered jacket. That's Gerda. But she has matted, heavy wings struggling against the gale. That's the Harpy. The two have become one.
And she's struggling, drowning in the air.
She's screaming his name, Mart, or maybe just screaming for help. But to Mart, it's a call to action. He believes, in that final break from reality, that he can save her, that his starvation has made him light enough to fly.
He thinks he can bridge that gap.
So he jumps.
And the story just ends.
It cuts to black. The final line is, and this is the end of the tale of the Harpy's wings. There's no rescue, no flight. Gravity wins. He jumps off a breakwater into a storm and drowns.
It's so bleak, but it feels inevitable. So looking at the wreckage of these two lives, Mart and Earl, what is the takeaway here? Is Gurevich just saying we should all stay in the office and record the barley?
I don't think so. I don't think he's advocating for submission. I think he's diagnosing a tragedy. The tragedy that we have built a world, the world of ledgers and refrigerators, that is fundamentally hostile to the human spirit.
The ground is toxic.
The ground is crowded. But the sky, total detachment, total fantasy, is lonely and dangerous. The tragedy is that Mart tried to force them together. He wanted the magic of the Harpy in Gerda's living room.
And you can't have both.
You can't domesticate the sublime. If you bring the Harpy down, you tear off her wings. If you want to keep her wings, you have to let her go.
It reminds me of the fake wings. The muslin.
Right.
We try to fake that freedom, don't we? We buy things, we go on vacation, we write stories. But it's just fabric.
And fabric doesn't hold you up in a storm. That's the danger of the green sailor. The danger of listening to that voice that says you're special, you can fly, the rules don't apply to you.
Because gravity always applies.
Always. Mart's mistake wasn't dreaming. His mistake was believing his dream could physically replace his reality. He forgot where the pier ended and the ocean began.
That is a heavy thought. It makes you look at your own daydreams a little differently. Are they an escape? Or are they a trap?
I think we all have a bit of Mart in us. We all want the Harpy. But maybe the lesson is, visit the sky, but don't try to move your furniture there.
And definitely don't jump off the breakwater when the weather turns bad.
Sound advice for any timeline, I think.
Thank you so much for breaking this down with me. The Harpy's wings is going to stick with me for a long time.
It was a pleasure. It really is a haunting story.
And to everyone listening, keep your feet on the ground, but keep looking up. Just be careful near the edge. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.